بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله العلي عن شبه المخلوقين، الغالب لمقال الواصفين، الظاهر بعجائب تدبيره للناظرين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على حبيبه وصفيه سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد وعلى آله الطاهرين وصحبه المنتجبين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is above all similarities with His creation, above all words used to describe Him, and displays the wonder of His management of the world for the onlookers. We greet the most select and purified of all the messengers, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his pure progenies. Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the 12th night and our 12th program. Almost half of the month is already gone, unfortunately. يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Time bears witness that humans are at a loss, except for those who have faith, do good deeds, urge themselves and others to search for the truth, and are patient. A Meccan surah by structure, very short, and focuses on the issues that we have talked about. It takes its title by the first word, wal-Asr, which is translated or can be understood to mean late afternoon as the day declines, as some have translated it. And also it could be a reference to a swift passage of time in general. Before we begin the actual tafsir and translation and give some background description about the surah, as usual, a brief recap will be helpful. Last night, in attempting to talk about Surah al-Humazah, two issues I discussed. Number one, the bio or a short reflection on the life of Sayyida Khadija alayha salam. And I stated within that brief look that unfortunately Sayyida Khadija's life has become fallen victim to the politics of image building. In a sense, after the demise of the Holy Prophet, when finally the structure and the power began to structure its own narratives, then what they did, they inflated the age of the Sayyida Khadija and deflated the age of the other wife, so that they create a contrast between youth and old age. And somehow, within this, they sacrificed the services of Sayyida Khadija to Islam and her love for the Holy Prophet, which was unquestionable. And this was attested to every time the Holy Prophet remembered her or the name of Khadija was mentioned. He used to cry and say that she supported him and stood by him when nobody else did, apart from Sayyid Abu Talib. And she sacrificed everything that she had for the sake of the message. And the next topic was Surah al-Humazah, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala focused, primarily chastised and warned those people who spend, the greedy misers, who spend their life collecting wealth and using it as a principle or as a segue to allow themselves to backbite, slander, and character assassinate others. And at the end of that surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that soon they will be crushed in a fire that consumes everything that they had. Now this surah, al-Asr, إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. In the name of God, the most gracious, ever merciful. Time bears witness that humans are in a state of loss, except those who embrace faith and do righteous deeds and urge others to truth and patience. Surah al-Asr has something in common with the surah before it, Surah al-Takathur, and surah after it, which is Surah al-Humazah. In Surah al-Takathur, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chastises or criticizes or warns those who spend their lives, their time, planning to amass wealth until death stares them in the face, and do not get time to think about higher objectives. They waste their time and their life chasing petty goals and trivial desires, forgetting that soon time will come that they have to stand before Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be accountable for how that time, the blessing life that was given to them, they spent. In this surah, Surah al-Asr, if one considers that surah and Surah al-Humazah to be the image of those who have wasted their time, this surah gives the real value, or tries to depict the real value and the importance of life if it is spent properly, and the factors that lead to this spending of the life properly, and ultimately the salvation and success in the hereafter. So this surah gives us a paradigm, the general principle, defining human life. And it is outlined in a very eloquent way, over time, all times, and with all nations, past, present, and the future. There is only one successful method, an order, and one successful strategy, or effective strategy, or one winning master plan that leads to prosperity and triumph. And that is the one that is unpacked and outlined, and this surah gives the profile and the parameters of it. Anything beyond that is nothing but failure, collapse, and ruin. So what is that paradigm? Al-Iman billah, al-amal al-salih, al-tawasi bil-haq, wa-tawasi bil-sabr. These are the four components. Embracing faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, good deeds, and urging one another towards truth and patience. Anything beyond this, anything that falls short of these four components, that outlines the single successful strategy, leads to failure. And in order to bring to the attention of human being, the surah starts with an oath has been sworn in by the time, wal-asr, to testify to this reality. Now, if we as human beings spend some time and reflect, the biggest investment we have is our lives. And if we spend this time, or the time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us as this life, if we spend this time properly, and ultimately we get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are successful. If we don't spend this time properly and we fall behind, we have failed. If we spend it properly, then we would become similar to those, يا أيها الذين آمنوا من يرتد منكم عن دينه فسوف يأتي الله بقوم يحبهم ويحبونه. Those who turn their back to the faith, they are not going to change anything. Soon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to bring a group of people that He loves them and they love Him. And then the ayah goes on, Ma'idah 54, goes to describe why these people are so special. Again, once we look at it, we see the faith, al-amal al-salih, and patient steadfastness on their belief, and active duty and social responsibility towards others. Now, to explain this, the concept of time in Islam is extremely critical. And we have huge number of literature, both in verses in the Holy Quran and ahadith, that focuses on this particular issue. But there is a unique approach that Quran takes to unpack and unravel the relationship between success and failure in time. Number one, Quran starts by stating that success and failure can only be established on the day of judgment. Why? Because the judge and the judgment takes place somewhere else. It's in that time, not here. And the verse in the Holy Quran, كل نفس ذائقة الموت وإنما توفون أجوركم يوم القيامة. Every soul has to depart. The result, the reward of your deed, negative or the positive, is given to you on the day of judgment. But here comes the framework by which success and failure is defined. فَمَنْ زُحْزِحَ عَنِ النَّارِ وَأُدْخِلَ الْجَنَّةِ فَقَدْ فَازَ. Don't think that success and failure can be established here. Why? Because only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the true intention. From an Islamic point of view, it's only if you are removed and protected and kept away from fire and punishment and allowed to go into heaven, then you have succeeded in your life. Short of that, you have failed. Which means the time allocated to you, the life given to you, the privilege that was granted to you, you have wasted it. The second step that Quran takes is by reminding us that even this life that has been granted to us, not all of it is available as a productive time for establishing something. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allahu alladhi khalaqakum min dha'fin, thumma ja'ala min ba'di dha'fin quwwa, thumma ja'ala min ba'di quwwatin dha'fan wa shayba. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the whole chunk of life, from birth until the departure, has to be divided into 3 phases. Some of these phases are inactive, some of them supposed to be active, and the other ones might be active, depending on how we conduct our life. Dha'f, which is the weakness and dependency at the early stage, certainly is inactive. So if you imagine somebody spending the first 10 years, 11 years, particularly the way nurture and nature work together, their dynamic, to bring somebody up, that period, that phase is inactive. The second phase, quwwa, strength, physical independency. This is supposed to be the active period. But how long is going to take? Who knows? We don't know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us 20 years of active period, al-quwwah, 30 years, 10 years, because death can happen at any time. And then finally, dha'f again, and old age, weakness, semi-independence. Some people, they start from quwwah and they continue with it even during the period of semi-independence. We don't know whether we are able to. Or dependency during that particular age. It becomes clear when we combine these two, first, that the success and failure is not here, is not established here, is somewhere else. Number two, this time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted us, and we are going to be questioned for it. There is a hadith that says there are 5 things that every person will be questioned about. One of them is the time and how you spend it. وَمِن شَبَابِكَ فِي مَا أَفْنَيْتَهُ. And how did you spend your youth, the period of independence and strength? Because now when we put these two together, it becomes clear that the time available that we can spend consciously for the hereafter and establish something for the future and take sustenance for our journey is limited. The sooner we organize ourselves, the better it is. We cannot miss anything, otherwise it will be lost. Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullah salamu alayhi, in response to somebody who began criticizing the world and life and everything else, said, "Inna ad-dunya daru sidqin liman sadaqaha, wa daru afiyatin liman fahima anha, wa daru ghinan liman tazawwada minha, wa daru maw'idatin liman itta'adha biha." This life, this world that you are talking about, it depends how you use it. This world is a house of truth for him who appreciates it, a place of safety for those who understand it, a house of riches for those who collect provision for the journey ahead, and a house of instruction and learning for those who learn from it. We are the one who's supposed. The life here is indifferent to truth or falsehood. How we spend our life, that is the one that moves or shifts the life in one direction or the other. There is another, again, short saying from Amir al-Mu'mineen, "Ad-dunya daru mamarrin ila daru maqar." This is a transient period. This is a place in which we are going to pass through it, but this is not permanent. We are not going to stay here. وَالنَّاسُ فِيهَا رَجُلَانِ. And there are 2 types of people in this world. رَجُلٌ بَاعَ فِيهَا نَفْسَهُ فَأَوْبَقَهَا. There is a type of characters that they sell their soul to the world and to the material and to the glamour of this world. And what happens? They shackle themselves to it. And they are ruined. And the second type are those that they remove themselves from self-centeredness and ego and everything else and the world material and free themselves. They are the one that have succeeded. رَجُلٌ بَاعَ فِيهَا نَفْسَهُ فَأَوْبَقَهَا وَرَجُلٌ ابْتَاعَ نَفْسَهُ فَأَعْتَقَهَا. Freed. You free the soul from attachment and the shackle of this material world. Imam Shafi'i has a poem, a couplet about time as well, which is relevant. نَعِيبُ زَمَانَنَا وَزَمَانُنَا وَالْعَيْبُ فِينَا. We criticize time, and the time is not to be blamed. Us, we have to be blamed. وَمَا لِزَمَانِنَا عَيْبٌ سَوَانَا. Zaman and time has no shortcomings. It's us with shortcomings that impose and project our shortcoming on time. وَقَدْ نَهَجُوا الزَّمَانِ بِغَيْرِ ذَنْبٍ. People began to criticize time, and time has no fault. وَلَوْ نَطَقَ الزَّمَانَ لَنَا هَجَانَا. If only time could speak, it would criticize us for our failure. We are the problem. We are the one that we don't use the time constructively and move forward and build. So the Surah al-Asr, keep this in mind. The Surah al-Asr focuses on this issue. Swearing by the time. Time bears witness. Waw wal-Asr means bearing witness. Was-subh, wal-layl, wal-duha. These are all kind of oath that is taken with the waw at the beginning. Bear witness. With this, we bear witness with Asr, which, as I explained, it could be interpreted either the end of the day or the swiftness of the time. Wal Asr as an oath by swift time as it passes, and you use that to witness to the importance of what you're going to unravel. And this is sunnatullah. You use your time constructively, it goes right across the nation, before, now, and after. Time spent constructively and gain sustenance for the hereafter, for the journey that we have ahead of us, we succeed. We lose it, and we miss the opportunity, and we become attached to the glamour of life, then we missed it. Somebody gave the example of a merchant of ice, somebody who sells ice. And instead of quickly selling the ice as quickly as possible and making some profit out of it, you stack them up and you allow it to begin to melt and look at the luster and the coolness of the ice, and you enjoy it. But soon the ice melts and you are left with the calamity. The opportunity was given to you and you didn't use it. Then what happens? رَبِّ ارْجِعُونِي لَعَلِّي أَعْمَلُ صَالِحًا. Once death stares us in the face, then we say, "Oh Lord, let us go back." Kalla, there is no going back. Shouldn't we spend these times, particularly during this month of Ramadan, constructively? And then, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. The oath by time is an important issue that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that indeed humans will be at a loss, but with an exception. The exception is إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Apart from those who have faith and they do good deeds for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Amanu comes from the root amana, which means safety and security. Tatma'in is from the same root. Ala bidhikrillah tatma'innul qulub. This relationship between Allah and iman and safety, stability and security is recurring themes in various verses in the Holy Quran. Repeatedly we see amanu wa amilus salihat. Innal ladhina amanu wa amilus salihat. It's repeated. So from a Quranic point of view, first it has to be iman, but not just a verbal utterance. Remember a few nights ago, I think 2 or 3 nights ago, we were talking about the same thing, that faith or iman from an Islamic point of view is not something that you utter and you simply say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. That's Islam. This is why the verse in the Holy Quran makes a distinction between Islam and iman. Once you begin to practice what you have already attested to it, So there is a synchronization between the word and action, then we can go towards Iman. When the Arabs of Jahiliyyah simply said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, قالت الأعراب آمنا. Quran responds, no. You just accepted Islam by uttering few words. It's your practice, what you do now. If you spend your time similar to Jahiliyyah, massing up huge amount of wealth and not doing your responsibility towards the others, as we saw at the early history of Islam, then you remain as Muslim. You never get to Iman. Qawl and Amal, these go together. So if a human being wants to be the exception from the loss, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ, it has to be first faith, then al-amal al-salih. But that's still not enough from an Islamic point of view. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. So as far as faith and amal al-salih, it could be personal and individualistic. But this verse links and connects the individual responsibility to the social responsibility. Not only you have to search for the truth and I have to be patient. No, we have to encourage others, urge others to search for the truth and be patient as well. Otherwise, it's the relationship between the individual and the collective. So we all have to be إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. So patience is critical. Encouraging and urging others to search for the truth, which is the concept of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar, which is forgotten, unfortunately, within our community and society, is critical, it's essential, central to this. Not only I have to do good, I have and search for the truth, I have to encourage others, urge others to search for the truth. If it's necessary, help them. Provide them with the guidelines and encourage them, urge them to be patient in the calamities that they're going to face in their lives. And patience, indeed, we need it these days. Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullah salamu alayhi, used to, at the end of Salat al-Isha, every time he prayed in Jama'ah with his disciples or group with him, he used to call them, تجهزوا رحمكم الله فقد نودي فيكم بالرحيل. Get yourself ready. Prepare yourself for the journey, which is going to be a difficult journey in front of you. Get the sustenance that you need for the hereafter, for the journey now. Spend the time correctly. Spend the time preparing yourself for the departure. Be conscious. Remember, I said, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. There is no soul that is going to be an exception to this. Every soul has to depart. And at the same time, be mindful of this life that we have. Not all aspects of it, all phases are active phases. So the sooner we start thinking and use the opportunity to do something constructive, the better it is. And nothing can be gained during this month without repentance first, tawbah. So long as we are shackled down and we have no intention of changing, nothing is going to change. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during these difficult times to grant us the privilege of being able and to help us to be able to use our life in the proper perspective and a proper way, so that we will succeed ultimately on the day of judgment, when we will be questioned for the deeds and the time and the life that we have spent. Let us again end by a prayer for all those people that have done everything possible for the sake of their community. They have been conscious of their social responsibility. They have put their lives in the front, protecting others. We really owe them a debt, and the least we can do is to offer prayer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect them, to save them from all harms. And may Allah reward them amply for the sacrifice that they are making. Please, sisters and brothers, the month of Ramadan, with all the opportunities, are quickly and swiftly passing by. Nobody could imagine. We started 12 nights ago. Almost half of the month is gone. Before we move, the opportunity is gone. So let's have a plan, start thinking, reflection. The first step is to be indignant of the past life. And then we move forward and we make resolution that we are going to change. If we want to stay with the same habits, with the same lifestyle, with the same structure, we will be the example of those that the Holy Prophet during Khutbah Sha'baniyah said, don't be among those that you spend the life and you don't get anything from it beyond hunger and thirst. May Allah protect you all. Please stay home, be safe. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.